With the King reportedly ruling out any suggestion of a part-time role for the Duke of Sussex. Our Europe correspondent Ben Downey reports.
For more than a century, Ford has been a symbol of American strength, innovation, and industrial pride, building trucks and cars that became part of the country's identity. But behind closed doors, the company has been facing an economic storm more intense than at any other moment in its history. And the decisions being made right now are forcing Ford to confront painful realities that many people never expected. For years, the global auto market has been shifting, electric vehicles rising faster than predicted, supply chains breaking under pressure, manufacturing costs skyrocketing, and competition from China becoming nearly impossible to match. While consumers thought Ford was simply releasing new models and updating old ones, the company was fighting a silent battle for survival. Executives have been pouring billions into electric vehicle development, hoping to secure a future in a market where gasoline-powered cars are slowly being pushed out by regulations and environmental policies. Yet every year the financial losses on EVs grow larger. Factories that once echoed with the sound of machines now face unpredictable shutdowns. And thousands of workers fear layoffs as the company scrambles to cut costs and restructure at every level. What makes the situation even more intense is that Ford is now caught between political forces, with some wanting the company to move faster toward an electric future and others wanting it to slow down, protect traditional jobs, and stop outsourcing key components overseas. The tension reached a boiling point when Ford quietly made a move that sent shockwaves through the auto industry. A major shift in production strategy that critics call a betrayal, and supporters call the only way to survive in a global market where Chinese automakers are dominating with cheaper batteries, faster production, and government support that American companies could never compete with. Ford's decision to form new partnerships outside the United States triggered immediate outrage from political leaders, especially those who expected the company to keep production on American soil. Workers' unions accused the company of abandoning its own people to chase profits abroad, while analysts argued that without drastic decisions, Ford would collapse under the pressure of rising costs and shrinking margins. Internally, board members were divided, debating whether the company should continue investing billions in EVs that aren't yet profitable, or scale back and risk being left behind by global competitors advancing at lightning speed. Meanwhile, consumers started noticing strange patterns: delayed deliveries, limited inventory, canceled models, and sudden price changes that made no sense. The truth was that Ford was stretched thin, trying to keep up with demand while re-engineering its entire manufacturing strategy from the ground up. Engineers were redesigning factories, rewriting supply contracts, and rushing to secure new battery technology before foreign competitors flooded the market with cheaper alternatives. While all of this was happening, political battle erupted publicly when Ford's decisions clashed with statements made by Donald Trump, who criticized the company heavily, arguing that its new strategy weakened the American workforce and strengthened foreign countries at America's expense. Ford responded by doubling down on its plan, insisting that the future required difficult choices, and that survival depended on long-term restructuring rather than political pressure. The clash escalated fast, with Trump using the issue as a symbol of what he calls the failings of modern American industry, and Ford refusing to back down, saying publicly that innovation cannot be achieved without risk. Behind the scenes, economists warned that Ford's next moves could determine the fate of thousands of jobs, billions in investments, and the balance of power in the global auto market. As the drama intensified, investors grew nervous, wondering whether Ford's gamble would pay off or destroy the company's stability. Executives insisted that the company's long-term vision was solid, pointing to massive infrastructure upgrades, next-generation EV platforms, and partnerships intended to secure cheaper battery materials. But critics argued that the company was moving too fast, spending too much, and betting everything on a future that remains uncertain. Now Ford stands at a crossroads, its legacy hanging in the balance, its leadership facing enormous pressure, and its every decision watched closely by politicians, workers, investors, and consumers around the world. The truth is that Ford's shocking move is not just a business decision, it's a declaration of war in a global competition that could reshape the entire automotive industry, determining which companies survive the transition to a new era of technology and which ones disappear forever. As the dust settles, one question remains. Did Ford just make the bold decision necessary to secure its future? Or will this be remembered as the moment everything changed for the worse? Only time will reveal whether this move saves the iconic automaker or pushes it into the most turbulent chapter of its 120-year history. As the industry watches Ford's every step, the consequences of the company's decision begin unfolding in ways even its own leadership didn't fully anticipate. Because once a titan like Ford changes direction, the entire market reacts. Suppliers who have relied on Ford for decades are suddenly forced to renegotiate contracts, restructure their own operations, or risk shutting down completely. Smaller companies that built their identities around supplying a single part to Ford now face uncertainty, while global competitors waste no time capitalizing on the chaos, pushing aggressively into markets where Ford once dominated. Inside the company, tension rises as managers push teams to develop new technologies at a pace never seen before, racing to prove that Ford's dramatic pivot is more than just a desperate move. Engineers are tasked with creating lighter materials, longer-lasting batteries, and smarter manufacturing processes, often working around the clock to meet unrealistic deadlines created by the pressure of global competition. Yet while innovation accelerates, morale inside the company becomes strained, with many employees unsure whether their jobs will exist a year from now. Longtime workers who remember Ford's golden age struggle to adapt to the new era of automation, software integration, and constant restructuring, while younger engineers see opportunity and push for even more radical changes to stay ahead of the industry. At the same time, Ford's competitors seize the moment, with some companies launching aggressive marketing campaigns aimed directly at Ford customers who feared the brand is losing stability. Electric-first automakers showcase their rapid growth, pointing out that while Ford is reorganizing, they are already scaling production and entering new markets. Meanwhile, government officials debate whether Ford's move represents a warning sign for American manufacturing as a whole, raising concerns that other major companies may soon follow the same path in search of lower costs and faster development cycles. Analysts warn that if Ford's gamble fails, it could trigger a chain reaction where suppliers collapse, competitors gain unprecedented power, and the American auto industry shifts permanently away from the traditional manufacturing base that built it. But supporters argue that the only way forward is through transformation, and that Ford's willingness to make difficult choices may ultimately allow it to outrun slower, less adaptive companies. As the pressure builds, Ford's CEO faces growing scrutiny, appearing in interviews, investor calls, and public forums to justify the strategy, repeating that this is not a retreat but a reinvention. He emphasizes that Ford is investing in battery plants, software development teams, advanced factories, and multi-billion-dollar research initiatives, designed to ensure that the company can compete in a world where the definition of a car is changing every year. Yet even with reassurance, the public remains divided and the political clash becomes louder. Critics argue that Ford's partnership decisions weaken national security by relying on foreign technology, while others say the company is simply adapting to a world where global supply chains are interconnected. Whether politicians like it or not, the tension escalates when new financial reports show mixed results. Some quarters show losses so large they shock analysts, while other reports highlight growth in emerging markets where Ford is betting on rapid expansion. Investors remain uncertain, waiting for proof that Ford's long-term strategy will turn into long-term profit. Meanwhile, journalists uncover internal documents showing that Ford has been planning this shift for years, quietly preparing for a future where the biggest threat to the company isn't a rival American brand, but global manufacturers capable of pumping out electric cars faster and cheaper than anyone in the West. As global competition tightens, Ford launches a series of bold announcements, including new EV models, next-generation hybrid systems, and advanced manufacturing facilities that promise lower costs and faster production cycles. But with each announcement comes a wave of skepticism. Questions about whether Ford can deliver on time, and doubts about whether consumers are ready to fully embrace the new direction. Still, Ford pushes forward, determined to reshape its identity before the market reshapes it first. And as the world watches the automaker navigate through the most turbulent era in its history. But as Ford pushes deeper into this transformation, the internal pressure becomes impossible to ignore. Because the company isn't just fighting external competitors, it's fighting decades of tradition that still linger in every hallway, every factory, and every decision room. Many executives who spent their careers mastering combustion engines suddenly find themselves overshadowed by software. Engineers half their age, whose ideas are now prioritized because the future of cars depends more on code than pistons. This shift creates quiet fractures inside the company, with some departments thriving in the new direction, while others feel abandoned, stripped of relevance in an industry that's moving faster than anyone expected. Meanwhile, Ford's global partners demand clarity, pushing the automaker to reveal its long-term goals so they can align their own production strategies. And behind closed doors, negotiations grow intense as each country tries to secure manufacturing jobs on their home turf. While all this happens, customers remain confused, trying to understand where Ford truly stands. Some lifelong Ford buyers feel betrayed, claiming the company is abandoning the rugged identity that defined it for more than a century. While younger drivers argue that the brand is finally stepping into the future it avoided for too long. The tension becomes even more visible when Ford releases limited data about prototypes being tested under extreme conditions, sparking rumors online that the company is secretly developing tech far more advanced than its press releases suggest. Influencers, analysts, and industry insiders all begin sharing leaked images, anonymous reports, and speculative claims about Ford's next move, creating a storm of curiosity and skepticism that keeps the brand in constant conversation even when it doesn't want to be. And while Ford publicly addresses some of these rumors, others are left intentionally vague, fueling even more speculation about whether the company is hiding breakthroughs it isn't ready to reveal. At the same time, Ford's financial team works frantically behind the scenes to balance staggering investments with long-term survival, moving billions of dollars across divisions to keep crucial projects alive. They know one misstep could trigger another wave of losses that critics would use as proof that Ford is collapsing under its own ambition. Yet the irony is that these massive risks might be the only path forward. Because Ford is now locked in a global race where the slowest company doesn't just lose market share, it becomes irrelevant. And once a brand falls out of relevance in the modern auto industry, it rarely recovers. Meanwhile, factories across America begin modernizing at an unprecedented pace, replacing outdated machines with robotic systems designed to speed up production and cut costs. Some workers adapt quickly, learning to operate advanced machinery and reinventing their roles, while others quietly fear the day automation makes their jobs disappear. Local communities, especially those built around Ford plants, start preparing for economic uncertainty, unsure whether the company's new direction will strengthen their towns or hollow them out. Politicians seize the moment, using Ford's transformation as ammunition in heated debates about the future of American labor, manufacturing, and global competitiveness. Some praise Ford's boldness, while others accuse the company of abandoning American workers for cheaper overseas alternatives. Through it all, Ford remains on a tightrope, balancing innovation with legacy, risk with reward, and ambition with reality, knowing that a single wrong move could define the next decade. But even in the middle of the chaos, one thing becomes undeniable. Ford is betting everything on a future it believes is coming faster than anyone expects. And the outcome of this gamble will shape not just the company, but the entire auto industry and, possibly, the global economy more than anyone is prepared for. But as Ford doubles down on its vision, the global market begins shifting in ways that even the company didn't anticipate, creating new challenges that hit from every direction. Rivals in Asia accelerate their production timelines, pushing out models at a pace the industry has never seen before. And each new release puts more pressure on Ford to deliver breakthroughs instead of promises. Investors who once praised Ford's bold strategy start demanding faster results, asking why other companies are gaining ground while Ford is still trying to stabilize its foundation. Inside the boardroom, executives debate whether to prioritize affordability or advanced technology, knowing that choosing one means sacrificing the other, and either choice could anger millions of loyal customers. Meanwhile, Ford's research teams uncover new problems with battery supply chains, discovering that materials once considered easy to secure are suddenly becoming scarce due to global demand. This forces the company to chase alternative suppliers, experiment with new materials, and rethink entire production lines in real time, all while competitors advertise their own innovations with confidence. Outside of engineering labs, the public narrative about Ford becomes unpredictable. Some media outlets declare that Ford is finally transforming into a future-proof company, while others warn that it's moving too fast, claiming the shift could create instability across the entire industry. Rumors begin spreading online that Ford's leadership is divided on the next steps, with some insiders supposedly pushing for a full transition to electric while others argue that hybrids are the only financially safe option. Ford responds cautiously, refusing to reveal internal disagreements, but not confirming unity either, leaving analysts to speculate about the company's internal dynamics. As this unfolds, a new wave of regulatory challenges hits the auto world, forcing automakers to meet stricter environmental standards and adapt their production methods once again. Ford's compliance teams scramble to meet deadlines, updating designs, renegotiating supplier contracts, and pushing engineers to find solutions that satisfy new rules while staying cost-efficient. Meanwhile, customers start voicing frustration as delays, rising prices, and inconsistent rollout schedules make it difficult to know when new models will actually hit the market. Yet despite all the turbulence, Ford continues making progress behind the scenes. Prototype vehicles begin performing better than expected. New software systems show promise, and early testing indicates that Ford's next generation of vehicles may actually outperform the competition in key areas like durability, efficiency, and long-term reliability. But these victories remain carefully guarded secrets until Ford is ready to reveal them strategically, as Ford carefully plans its next major announcement. One problem becomes increasingly clear. Global instability is affecting everything from shipping routes to raw materials, and the company must prepare for a future where unpredictability is the norm. Supply chain experts work day and night to create alternative pathways, ensuring that no single disruption can shut down production again. This new reality forces Ford to reconsider how it operates internationally, pushing the automaker to diversify manufacturing locations, invest in regional hubs, and reduce dependency on any one political climate. Throughout all of this, investors, customers, workers, and competitors continue watching closely, waiting to see whether Ford's massive gamble will become one of the greatest turnarounds in automotive history or a cautionary tale about the risks of transforming too quickly. And as tensions rise, one thing becomes increasingly obvious. Ford is not simply trying to survive a changing world.